One of my boyfriends, 21M, best friends, 22M, families, pregnant wife, and toddler. House burned down in the California wildfire and are now coming to live with us in our small apartment. I did not agree to this, and I, 21F, am feeling extremely anxious and panicked. First, I just want to preface this by saying that I am fully willing to support their family through tangible means like buying them food, supplies, furniture, etc. I just don't think our apartment is a viable option. My boyfriend and I live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment in a very expensive area. Rent is around $3,000 a month, and we're both stressed-out college students. This guy has been best friends with my boyfriend since high school, and they regularly keep in touch and drive to see each other. My boyfriend and I live in NorCal, while they live more south. The friend has not been in a good financial situation for the last 2 years. He dropped out of community college after he got a girl pregnant, and they ended up getting married after she gave birth. She is now 7 months pregnant with their second child. My boyfriend and I usually go down to visit them together, and we always pay for meals, and I always try to buy a couple of toys for their 2-year-old. We have been in contact with them since last night. They were able to safely evacuate and bring some essentials, including their car, but their house has burned down. My heart aches for their family, and I really want to help them by transferring money or even calling some of my friends who live in SoCal to see if they're willing to take them in. But during a FaceTime call this morning, my boyfriend immediately, without any hesitation or asking me, offered up our small apartment to them. They were very, very thankful and at first said that it would be too much for us, but my boyfriend insisted and they graciously accepted in the end. I was in the background fairly silent the entire time. After my boyfriend hung up, I asked him why he just extended the offer without even asking me, and he acted shocked and said that he thought that I would 100% support his decision. I told him that I would have in any other living situation, but we are 2 poor college students living in as small-ass apartment in an expensive area, and it is definitely going to be more than difficult to accommodate his friend, his pregnant wife, and toddler. My boyfriend said that I was being a bit selfish and that they just lost their house, and that I should be more understanding and sympathetic. And don't get me wrong, I agree that I'm being selfish, but I am also being reasonable and trying to think rationally. I may be a bit biased since I am in the middle of preparing for the MCAT, which I'm taking in January, and I really need to do well on it, and dear God, is not an easy test. My boyfriend and I are both in very stressful majors that require a shit ton of work and studying, and on top of that, he and I both are working part-time. I feel like I'm already so stressed out right now with school, work, and everything. I look forward to quiet time in our apartment that we get to spend. I digress, but I can't help but think of how this changes everything. Of course, this is probably temporary, even though my boyfriend said they could stay as long as they need to, but right now is really not the time. My boyfriend and I argued over this for an hour, and I ended up just heading out for the day. My boyfriend is sticking to his plan, and he texted me saying that he's sorry and that he knows it'll be hard, but to remember we're doing a good thing and supporting our friends in a time of crisis. I couldn't help but think that it was really his friend and not ours, but I might just be being bitter. They're planning to drive up tomorrow morning. I am just so worried, stressed, and my anxiety is through the roof. I came home around 2 hours ago and noticed that my boyfriend has already set up a mattress in our second bedroom, which is our office/work area, and set up the couch. I burst into tears and almost had a panic attack. I just don't know how to deal with toddlers, and I also don't know how to support and take care of a pregnant woman. My boyfriend comforted me, but I can't help but feel a bit resentful right now. He agreed to this without asking me, and I can't fight back now. I would seem like such a horrible person. I'm still crying in our room as I'm typing this, and my boyfriend went out to stock up on groceries. God, I don't know what to do, and I feel so panicky. What can I do at this point, Reddit? I'm at a complete loss. Edit. Pretty relevant piece of information that I left out because I did not want to impose any unnecessary bias. Now, I see its relevance. Copied from a comment below. To be very honest, I am not the biggest fan of their family. From what I could tell from visiting them with my boyfriend, they do not have their shit together. While we visited them around 3 months ago, the wife regularly went out and partied while pregnant, and their toddler is extremely unbehaved. While I was there last time, I had to help change the toddler's diaper while the wife was out partying, and my boyfriend and his friend were playing video games. TLDR. Boyfriend's best friend's family's house burned down in the wildfire. His wife is 7 months pregnant, and they have a 2-year-old. My boyfriend offered up our 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment without asking me because he assumed I would 100% agree. We are both poor college students in stressful majors. I am more than willing to support in any other way, just not having them live with us. I don't know what to do, and I've been crying for the past hour. Fuck. Relevant comments. Commenter. Hey, does he know the significance of the MCAT? Your feelings are so valid. I can't even imagine being put in this position. My BF just took the MCAT, and he wouldn't see me sometimes for long periods of time because he needed to stay in the zone. B. There should be no obligation on you to help out whatsoever. This needs to be temporary, for the good of your future, your relationship, and your mental health. This kind of decision was not his to make on his own. You both live there. C. Is this even allowed per your lease? I'm an MA, but my lease has a clause prohibiting visitors for over 1 week, I believe. Maybe you can use this to your advantage, in a subtle way to hopefully avoid another argument. D. If they stay longer than a week, you should consider putting yourself first and moving out. MCAT needs devotion and routine, and if you value med school acceptances more than or equal to your current relationship, go for it. This is important stuff. E. Spend as little time at your place as possible. Find small ways to help out that don't take a lot of time or energy to avoid arguments and help keep the peace. Do those small things and then leave your place for the day. Move some stuff to a friend's place so you have a backup plan if you've had a super stressful day and just need a quiet place to crash. He knows the significance of the MCAT and still chose to make this rash decision without so much as to even consult me about it. Yeah, I looked up our lease this morning and it says no visitors for over 1 week too. I think that's usually the norm. I will definitely be pulling that card as leverage. Thanks a lot for the advice. I really hope that this will be temporary. Comment. Do they have any other options? Honestly, my boyfriend would do the same thing, and I love that about him. It really sucks that this is during such an important time in school, but if these people have nowhere to live, I don't see how turning them away isn't a little heartless. Of course, you might need to stay at your friend's house to get studying done, but is that such a horrible trade-off for helping a family with no home? I think they do have options, but decided to turn to us because their family would be harder on them, push them to pay for themselves get out soon. They both have family nearby. In fact, the husband's rich family lives not far from us. However, they have already housed their family for a year and a half after she got pregnant at 18, and according to my boyfriend, they were pissed at how they acted during that time and almost kicked them out. They finally caved and actually bought the house that they lived in so they could get out. I just can't deal with irresponsible adults in addition to a toddler in my small apartment. As others have pointed out, they can get support from FEMA or even stay at a local shelter. Hundreds of people are doing this. If they need money or food, I will gladly send it to them, but I can't offer up my space due to many reasons. I'm sorry if you see this as heartless, but I get the feeling that you would feel differently if you were actually put into my situation. Update. Next day. Never thought I'd be updating so fast, but everything was resolved in one of the most hectic and stressful nights of my life. Shout out to all of my supporters out there. You guys made my day yesterday. And to those of you calling me heartless, because I don't think offering our living space up is a good idea when I've said that I am willing to support them in any other way. Fuck you. The pregnant wife, husband, and toddler arrived at our apartment last night around 9:30 p.m. They had already told us on the way that their toddler contracted some kind of food poisoning and was not feeling well, which is what delayed them. Me and my boyfriend go down to greet them, and we realize that they have so much luggage. There were 2 large suitcases, a duffel bag, and like 4 Trader Joe's shopping bags filled with random stuff and half-eaten food. Okay, cool. That's gonna be fun lugging up the stairs. So my boyfriend and the husband starts to bring up their stuff, while I stay back and half-carry the pregnant wife up the stairs because she feels too tired and nauseous. We get upstairs and I ask where Jake, the toddler, is, and the wife realizes she forgot to unbuckle him from the car seat and left him in there. She asked if I could go down and grab him. I wanted to say, not my forgotten toddler, not my responsibility, but alas, I decided to try to be gracious at least for the first day, so I went down and unstrapped the toddler, who looked visibly sick. There were literally 2 bags of vomit next to him, which I removed from the car and threw in the trash, because it would have been forgotten and become a severe health hazard. I tried to see if he can walk, and he started crying and started dragging himself on the ground, so I picked him up and carried him up the stairs. I set the kid down next to our couch, and Lord Almighty, this kid did not look good. His cheeks were flushed really red. There was dried vomit caked on his face, and his breathing seemed quick/rapid. I feel his forehead, and it feels really hot to the touch, so I run to the bathroom to get a thermometer. While I'm digging for the thermometer, I hear, again, "Are you fucking kidding me, Jake?" So I rush out And indeed, fucking hell, the tot is thrown up all over our carpet. I wanted to cry. I run to the kitchen to grab paper towels, but the pregnant wife was already using some sort of napkin/cloth to sop it up, but she was smearing it and making it worse, and I wanted to die. I came to help her, and the tot is screaming at this point while she's yelling at him to shut the fuck up. My boyfriend and the husband came over to help, but the wife told them to go away because she got handled. The wife asks if I would mind taking him to the bathroom to rinse him, and the only reason why I say yes is because I'm seriously worried about the kid. I strip him and run warm water in our tub and put him in. Then I put a thermometer in this mouth, and lo and behold, he has a temperature of 106 degrees. Not a good sign at all. That paired with symptoms of vomiting, rapid breathing, and looking really lethargic is a combination good enough for the ER. So I yell for the mother to get to the bathroom and ask her where she thinks he got the food poisoning from. She says she doesn't know and that he's just eaten fruit for the past 2 days. I'm freaking out because his symptoms are consistent with meningitis. Poor kid keeps grabbing his head and crying so clearly he has a headache too. I ask her if she's gotten him vaccinated for meningitis, and she said she doesn't think he's been vaccinated at all. I'm going into panic now. I feel Jake's neck and try to ask him slowly if he feels like it's difficult to move. He just cries more. I ask her call for my BF and husband and explain the situation to them, and the husband confirms that the baby has not gotten vaccinated for the meningococcal BC, so it's a no-brainer at this point. I tell them how life-threatening this infection is, and that it may leave Jake paralyzed. The wife bursts into tears and gives the okay, so all 4 of us plus Jake get in their car to drive to the ER. My boyfriend is driving, and I'm in the back cradling Jake and checking for rashes on his arms and legs with cell phone flashlight. The wife is still crying. I am close to crying. We finally get to the ER and I tell them there's a 2-year-old with symptoms blah blah and blah, with no vaccination for meningitis, and we suspect he has it. They immediately bring him in and ask me if I was the parent, and I said no, and pointed to the wife, who was trailing behind me in tears. They brought her in with the toddler and told me to stay in the waiting area. At this point, I take my first breath. 5 minutes later, the husband and my boyfriend come rushing in, and I tell the husband to go talk to staff so they could bring him in. He does, and my boyfriend comes to hug me, and fuck it, I just start bawling my eyes out. He keeps telling me he's sorry and that it's his fault. I'm still crying into him. He calls an Uber for me and tells me to go home and get some sleep, and that he'll handle the rest. I'm too tired to resist, so I get home at like 12 a.m., brush my teeth, and just crash after I got a text saying they put him on antibiotics and are waiting for blood test results and the culture, but that he was stable. I wake up the next morning at like 10 a.m., and the apartment is like super quiet, and my boyfriend isn't in bed next to me. So I get up and walk into our living area and see him sleeping on the couch, and not a single luggage bag or pregnant wife in sight. I nudge my boyfriend awake, and he tells me everything that happened. The toddler is in the ICU, and my boyfriend managed to get a hotel nearby for them for half the price after telling them what had happened. He paid for a week-long stay for them, and then helped move everything out of the apartment and to the hotel with the husband while the wife was at the hospital. He kept saying he was sorry, and that he didn't think anything through, and for me to forgive him. I said it was okay, and hugged him. It turned out to be one hell of an experience I don't ever want to relive again, but I'm glad Jake is safe, and I'm glad they won't be living with us. TLDR, the family arrived, and within 1 hour we had to go to the ER because I suspected the kid had meningitis. Turns out he did have meningitis, but we caught it early, and he is now resting in the ICU. Fam is now living in a hotel that my boyfriend paid for after he came to his senses. Also, some key points that people keep missing. The pregnant wife, husband, and toddler chose to drive over 600 miles to live in our 2BD2B instead of living with the husband wealthy, only around 200 miles away. Family, who are also the ones to pay for their house and house them for 2 years. I have my suspicions as to why this is the case, but you make your own judgments. And finally, the pregnant wife's behavior is no different than normal. I've been to their house multiple of times, and I can confirm that she curses at her child, drinks while pregnant, and is unable to adequately care for the child. Relevant comments. Commenter. Kudos for catching on that Jake was sick. I'm glad he's on the mend. Probably was a good thing that initially they did go there, so you could catch it. Probably saved the kid's life. Oh, thanks. I'm really glad it happened too. Story 2. My 41 female, partner of 2 years, 44 male, is adamant I am cheating on him. I am not. Help. Just a bit of context. We've been together for 2 years. He has 2 kids. I have 1 kid, irrelevant to this story. We live apart. I bought a home a few months before we started dating, and are together only when our kids are with their other parent. He's the guy that has treated me the best of all my relationships, and I love him dearly. I'm a chronically anxious and stressed person, and he's absolutely my peace. But today he sucker punched me with this. He's absolutely convinced I'm cheating on him. The reason he suddenly started thinking this is because 2 days ago, I wanted to show him something on my phone. There was an irrelevant tab opened, my Hotmail account, that is full of spam. Had this account for the past 24 years, but mostly used my Gmail. He saw, quickly in passing, that there was a folder with a man's name, let's say James. I don't remember the purpose of this folder. It's empty, haven't touched it in 15 years. No idea why it exists. It was probably useful at some point, but no idea. Well, now he's convinced that. I closed the tab too quick. I was acting weird and nervous and suspicious. This means I've cheated, or I am actively cheating. That's his perspective. Now on to the actual truth. I am absolutely not cheating on him. He's the man of my dreams, love of my life. I have never ever given him a reason to even suspect I'm cheating. I spend one entire week with him at his place. Never hid my phone, anything like that. When I'm SD my house, it means him with my kiddo. And my time is 100% devoted to her. I also work a lot. There's not a single second in my life where I would have time to devote to any other person, even through email. I spend my downtime at home or being with kiddo and the cat, watching YouTube videos. I send him a lot of pictures of me chilling with my cat as well, and we have a constant communication going. I'm very chatty through text. Anyways, at first I was super pissed and also confused, because why on earth would you not trust me? What is happening? No matter what I say, he says I don't make any sense whatsoever, and he's just adding 1 plus 1, and to him, the answer is 2. I keep telling him that he's the one not making any sense. We're back and forth on the texting. He doesn't even want to speak over the phone or come over to talk about it. I've sent him numerous screenshots of my email with unopened emails that go back more than a year. I've sent screenshots of me typing the keyword James in the email and nothing coming up. Eve's shown him a completely empty sent folder, which to me is weird. I've sent numerous emails over the years. Why is it empty? And I've also given him the login and password so he can look for himself. I've accumulated a lot of junk in that email over the many years I've had it, but rarely use it now. It's just a receptacle of all my Amazon orders, my McDonald's app receipts, and various spam emails. I'm pissed he doesn't trust me. He says he needs time to think. I'm stuck in a loop of pissed, confused, and sad. What's going on? Help. Sad face. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. Is this incredibly out of character for him? Or has he always been a bit jealous and suspicious? Could he be the one cheating and protecting? OP. This is wildly out of character. I am unsure if he would be projecting his own cheating. Anything is possible. But I'd hope not. I don't believe so. He's high libido, and we have sex daily, when we're together, which is every other week, except when one of us is sick. I give him everything he needs in that department, and all the other departments as well. We take good care of each other typically. Commenter. I hear so many stories about stuff like this happening on Reddit. I feel like most PPL would say, he's projecting, and he's the one cheating, and just trying to push the blame on you. You're the only one outside of him who truly knows this relationship. Has there been anything else going on in the relationship as of late? Nothing. Everything is fine. We're great. We have excellent communication. We talk through things, never had a fight, never scream at each other. We're very loving physically, but we can also coexist quietly in the same space doing our own thing. It's truly, truly amazing typically. This is completely bonkers to me right now. OP clarifies. I told him I understood where he was coming from, and I am willing to work through this with him. He has full access to everything he ever wants, whenever he wants. I've shown myself to be trustworthy to a fault. When I say haven't touched, I'm not sure if it's a translation thing. I just mean I have not used it as my primary email in a very long time, and the email is only used as an inbox for receipts and useless crap. Update post. 4 days later. So, it did not end well. After 48 hours of back and forth through text, because he refused to even speak to me over the phone or face-to-face, and me giving him my passwords so he can go check for himself that nothing was fucky, he still wouldn't back down. At this point his behavior was concerning, and I thought he may have a mental episode going on. It was getting too much. He was texting me at all hours of the night, trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense in the first place. So I blocked him. When he realized that he sent me emails at my work email, asking me to check my Hotmail, which had nothing different in it. When I blocked his email, he decided to message my best friend and telling her, if I can't talk to her, I'll go through you instead. My friend has literally nothing to do whatsoever with this whole thing. She never replied, and is sticking with me because she's also seeing how crazy he's acting. So, I thought that was that. Yesterday at work, I was visibly sad and distressed, and my whole team hugged me, offered support, and I had lunch with my other good friend and colleague. So the day goes by. I get off work at 4. I am walking to my car in the parking lot, flanked by 2 colleagues, and I'm kind of explaining the whole story. They go to one of the girls' car because they carpool. I walk towards my own car, which is parked 2 rows away. I hear a loud man's voice behind me. I turned around, and it's him. He's walking very quickly towards me and still talking nonsense about emails. I hold my hand up and say, "I'm not doing this with you right now," all the while calculating whether I am safe to go to my car. He was screaming at me that I was a whore, a slut. I've never seen him like this before at all. A little energy pushed me to turn around and go to my colleague's car. At this point, I'm shaking and scared. I enter her car and start hyperventilating. They're like, "We'll drive you home." He was about 6 feet from the car, hate in his eyes, motioning me to get out of the car. We drove off. I kept apologizing to them, crying and looking behind us the whole trip to make sure he wasn't following. When I came home, my mother was there. I broke down, and she called the cops. A nice officer told me over the phone, "I got nothing else going on right now. You're my priority, and I'm coming to you as soon as I can." He came to my home, took my deposition, was extremely patient and understanding, explained everything that he was going to do after. My ex was placed under arrest for criminal harassment with certain conditions to follow. Not sure about the legal terms here, but they did not handcuff him or take him to jail. It was just a verbal thing, and he will probably be summoned in court at a later date. I have a good network of people who care, and I believe I'm safe. Thanks everyone. Some of Opie's comments. In response to a longer comment, "Thank you for the kind words. They are definitely patrolling my area more. The officer told me that he was extremely calm and cooperative during his arrest, but knowing my ex, that's just a facade, and he's probably absolutely boiling with rage inside. I have some peace of mind where I know he cannot contact me, directly or indirectly, and cannot be at my home or place of employment. This is a small town, so there's a chance I might bump into him at the pharmacy or grocery store, but there's nothing I can do about that, and the officer just told me to ignore him and go to a different aisle or area in the store. It will take a very long time for me to get through this. I'm a slow healer. But time heals all wounds. Does it not? Commenter. Just because they have MH issues clearly here, it doesn't mean you have to feel 1 ounce of sympathy or guilt because whatever's going on. It's destroyed any chance of them being allowed in your life anymore. OP. Thank you. I needed to hear this. I am angry at him, but sometimes during the day I have small bouts of thoughts like, did I overreact? Am I being too harsh with having him arrested? And I have huge regrets about it. But then I realize, hey, the actual officer of the law told me he had enough motive to literally arrest him. So I'm doing the right thing. Is it a brain tumor? Yep, some tumors can change a person's personality drastically. Sadly, this isn't the case here. He's a drug addict, and uses multiple times a day, which leads me to think that's where his little mental episode stemmed from. Commenter. But knowing my ex, that's just a facade, and he's probably absolutely boiling with rage inside. Can you talk about this a little more? In your OP, you describe him only using positive traits, but if you know he's probably absolutely boiling with rage inside, that speaks to you knowing he has a temper. I'm not asking to be snarky, but it may be helpful to see if his behavior is not as out of character as you initially thought. OP, I understand what you mean. Yes, he did have a temper, but never, ever directed at me personally. Usually, he would be mad at the mother of his children for mishandling a situation regarding the kids, and would go on a rant about how much of a cunt she is. But towards me, the sweetest guy there ever was. I guess I didn't think that it would happen to me, but isn't that how it usually goes? Never thought I'd be on the receiving end of it. Mini update, same post, a few hours later. Edit, I just had a 2-hour conversation with his ex. Let's call her Jess. Not the mother of his kids, but the girl he dated between the kid's mother and me. A very interesting conversation. She has lived exactly the same situation as me, minus the calling the cops. She told me he was ultra-controlling, physically and verbally abusive to his 2 sons, a bad drug habit, an unhealthy/borderline inappropriate relationship with the mother of his children, and he was psychologically and sexually abusive towards Jess. She told me he used to put her on a pedestal, same as me, but he had a lot of behavior problems that I've noticed but chose to ignore just because I loved him so much. I hope he gets the help he needs. Mini update, Same post, next day. Edit to, he's following me. Saw him twice today where he shouldn't have been. Documented that to the police station. They're super nice and understanding, thank God. OOP checked in a few days ago to share that she is okay. So far so good, nothing worthy to mention since the second update. I have many people in the hospital I work at offered to walk me to my car. I am never alone. I am actually safer at work than at home. Everyone has been wonderful. Editor's note. One more time for the people in the back. OOP clarified. My ex was going on and on about exactly what you're saying. For context, I've had this email since I was 15 years old, and back way before Snapchats and Messengers and even Gmail. Hotmail is how we communicated. I have at least 10 folders there, including the one I used with my ex-husband, the father of my child, not the current partner, and his folder is still named Babe. That's how much I don't give a shit about that email. And yes, I open it sometimes because, hey, it's my Facebook-associated email. B, I log in on Poshmark with Facebook. C, I get Poshmark-related communications there. I don't use that email other than Poshmark, Amazon, and McDonald's receipts. So yes, sometimes it is logged in, but I haven't sent an actual email from there in years. And the mysterious James could have easily been either a young fling or client when I was a wedding photographer. Seriously, no idea. Story 3. My partner left me, so I exposed to everyone that he lied about having cancer. My partner told me when we first got together that he has cancer, and if his operation doesn't go well, it could be terminal. He said his treatments have also made him infertile, so imagine our shock and joy when we found out I was expecting at the start of 2024. We now have a beautiful 5-month-old daughter who is perfectly healthy and thriving, and he is in remission. My pregnancy was difficult and lonely because of all the intense treatments he went through while waiting for his operation. I did a lot on my own, knowing he desperately needed this to have the best chance possible of shrinking his tumor before having it removed, so we can have a long, happy life together as a family. He is currently living with his mom while he is in recovery, so that it takes the pressure off me caring for both him and our baby until he is well enough to move into our new home with us. He still comes to our house and we go to his mom's all the time, so our baby isn't missing him, and on Wednesdays, he has his daddy-daughter days where it is just the two of them to make sure they're bonding well, and he has the practice until he's well enough to care for her at home full-time, and give me a little break too. Last week we had an attempted break-in at the house. Editor's note. OOP posted about that a few days ago, but it was deleted. I asked him to come over and stay here while I'm waiting for the locks to be changed because I'm scared, but he wouldn't. I was talking to his mom too, who slipped up telling me he wasn't home. Long story short, this is Reddit. I'm sure you can see where this is going. We argued for over 24 hours before my suspicions became too much, and I went to Facebook. It took me less than an hour to find the first 2 women. During my pregnancy, I was suspicious of a lot of things and put it all down to my hormones, as he would continuously tell me that I am paranoid and hurting him when I ask. One thing my paranoia just wouldn't let up about was his cancer and his treatments. I asked his mom about it, who told me he doesn't have cancer, but he is having treatments. He has an autoimmune disease, which he receives transfusions for. Very serious, but nowhere near terminal and no operations required. She also informed me he was in rehab, not hospital. He was addicted to cocaine and was trying to recover for me and our baby. I never mentioned to him that I knew. I assumed it was embarrassment of wanting to get clean without me knowing, so he could be a good partner and dad. I was so proud of him for getting that help that I never spoke about it. With his autoimmune disease, his mom explained how brutal it has been for him and that he did have chemo a few years back, so maybe that's why he's confused. Pregnancy brain is a real thing. Or maybe I'm just too blindly in love because I accepted this and never questioned it again. After discovering the first 2 women, I sent my partner a message telling him to let his girlfriend know I'm asking after her and not to bother coming home anymore. I've had the locks changed from the break-in so he can't get in. He panicked and started begging me to answer the phone and let him come see me so he could explain everything. I started to see everything through clear eyes for the first time and realized how long he had been gaslighting me for, and told him no. Realizing he couldn't get through to me, and now aware I was trying to contact his girlfriend, he panicked and went to her instead. During that time, I found a photo she had shared of the 2 of them and shared it to my profile with the caption, "Can someone please ask this woman to contact me?" She instantly blocked me, but her sister got in touch with me instead. Apparently, the family have never trusted him and knew something was wrong. This affair is serious enough to have met the family. She says he has told her not to speak to me, as I'm a deranged stalker he slept with once years ago, and I've been hunting him down, trying to convince people my baby is his. I send her a photo of the birth certificate, and us in hospital together to show her sister before he can lie to her anymore. During this, I am also messaging another woman who is furious at what he has done and is helping me with all the information she is aware of. She tells me he broke her heart by cheating on her without even knowing he was cheating on me too. So far, I have the current timeline. Chemo in March, a 19-year-old. Rehab in April, July. A woman of an appropriate age this time, but also cheating on her. August, now. His 20-year-old girlfriend. I then find out his emergency cancer medication that he had to leave for in the middle of labor was actually the fact my 2 failed epidurals. Screaming in agony, begging the doctors to help because I thought I was dying while the emergency team rush in to place extra monitors on our baby in distress was actually just a huge turn on for him, so he needed to go sleep with a 20-year-old before making it back just in time to kiss me before I went into emergency surgery. This was Sunday. It is now Saturday the following week. I made a post on Facebook calling out my partner for his actions, with photographs, medical notes, and evidence, and asking people to leave me alone on Tuesday after 48 hours of no sleep, multiple calls to the crisis team, and a barrage of harassment from his friends and family who want to sue me for character defamation. If this was a regular affair, I'd lick my wounds and move on, but I have now learned I have been leaving my daughter alone with a drug addict who is claiming he doesn't know me or his daughter to others, but demanding custody rights to me. Tens of women have now come forward who have also dated him during our relationship with no idea of me or each other. This is obviously really upsetting, but what upsets me the most is that I begin to notice a very worrying pattern. He has told every single one of these women that he has cancer and can't get them pregnant. I said my labor and delivery was difficult. I was induced due to an infection I had. My GP had told me I had an STI, and although I understood and took the treatment and was induced, my madly in love pregnancy brain never accepted it as an STI until I went back this week and checked my hospital discharge notes, and it was there in big bold letters. Sensitive. Partner STI. He has been telling women that he has cancer and can't get them pregnant, so they don't need protection, which led to an STI which almost killed me and his daughter in labor, and he wasn't even there to be with us because he was sleeping with a young girl who also believes he has cancer. I decided to let everyone know that he in fact does not have cancer by using a screenshot of his MAMS messages. All the women he has slept with to make sure they take a pregnancy and STI test. All his friends who he has been guilting for years over his condition, and also social services and the police for sexual endangerment. Me and my daughter now have safeguarding in place for us from a local organization for women leaving abusive relationships, so I feel very safe to reveal the truth about him and make sure all of his partners are safe and informed seen, as he couldn't uphold his legal obligation of declaring an STI. I guess his postpartum girlfriend will do it for him. I have also had contact from many of his old friends, band members, and ex-partners who have all gave me testimonies to use for the police and as backup for if his mother does in fact try to sue me. This man has been lying and manipulating women for over 9 years. So far everyone is now aware of his lies, and I am waiting for my in-person meeting with the police. I can't imagine any updates from here, as it will only be a legal battle that probably can be shared, but if anything else of interest comes to, I will make sure to write about it. Oh, also, my partner is a primary school teacher. Some of OP's comments. To a remove comment. It's come to light this week that his ex-partners have been reporting him for years to no avail. His ma'am is on the school board, and her best friend is his head teacher. I'm hoping with the added element of social services this time and an investigation into child endangerment for our daughter, they can't sweep it under the carpet any longer. Escalating the situation. We're in UK, his complaints have been escalated to LATO in the past, which is basically our version of what controls the school's judgment over any dangerous situations, but nothing happened. One of his exes have gave me all the details of their report to push that they ignored her, and it's escalated to this. Commenter. Feel like we need a full name and link to his Facebook, or at very least to make sure he is up on Prick Advisor. OP. He deleted his Facebook after I made a post on there. He is the most convincing person you have ever met, but for the first time, someone proved him wrong by posting medical evidence, and he couldn't take it. I'm waiting on approval to join Prick Advisor UK, and are we dating the man same northeast to warn all the other women I couldn't find myself? Commenter. What STI did he pass to you? Has your baby been tested and or treated? OP. At the time, I refused further testing in denial and regret it so much. I was just given a course of antibiotics, and because my symptoms went, they left it at that for me. All I know is from the STI being untreated for so long, I ended up with strep group B2, which is why I needed to be induced, so I was on an antibiotic drip when my waters were broken, so my baby would be safe. She's perfectly healthy and faced no issues luckily. I think I've been lucky and whatever is was must not have turned to an STD, because my medical documents only say partner STI. We also haven't slept together for a very long time now, after my surgery, so I know I'm at least safe now. Commenter. How does he manage his time? Like, is his superpower time management? A full-time job which requires extra hour work, a baby, a GF, a mother, many lovers? OP. He would disappear from time to time and switch his phone off a lot. Not living together was a huge help for him. He would tell me he needed set days and time, etc., as he can only work in routines for his recovery. Obviously, I can look back now and see that really. He just needed to know which girl was where and when. I've been told by multiple people now that he will often just don't turn up to work because he's on a bender or at a woman's house, and I was kept in the dark because his mam's best friend is the head teacher and would cover for him. Commenter. He's a serial adulterer. He spreads STIs. He lies about having cancer. He's a primary school teacher and he's in a band. Volshinabont. I've just found out this week that he wasn't kicked out in 2019 for having cancer like he'd told me, but kicked out in 2018 when his abusive behavior towards women was exposed, and they cut all ties with him except one band member who didn't believe it and never mentioned anything about it to me or gave me the heads up. Commenter. Is your BF my ex? Cause my ex was also a drug addict who faked cancer and other health problems, while abusing me physically, mentally, and sexually. OP. If he lives in the UK, and used to be in a feminist punk band, then there's a good chance. I'm so sorry for your experience, and hope you've healed X. Commenter. The Daily Mail would be all over this. OP. They would. I've shown my social worker what I've shared online so far, and as no one has been named or can be identified on here, that's okay. And I've been extremely polite about the situation, and only exposed myself on Facebook, so they're okay with me sharing that, but for the sake of not giving him any more ammo or information to use in his defense, I need to be careful until the investigations are over. I wouldn't want to mess up my case and have him teaching for another 6 years like the last time he was reported. Commenter. Make it public, make sure parents know, and that the head of the school board has been protecting him. OP. Sadly, I think parents are aware and not receiving help from the school in the situation. One woman he dated during the summer, and she realized who he was when she went to drop her child off at school in September. She's been updating me to let me know that he wasn't seen in school for multiple days after my health visitors and social worker began the reports on Monday, but he was back in half a day Friday. Updating comments. Next day, 9 hours later. I've spoken to the police this morning. There's nothing they can do unless they find the drugs on his person in the school, so nothing is stopping him snorting a line before he starts work as long as he takes nothing else with him. They've implied the loophole is that they catch him behind the wheel, and if some reported him driving on drugs, they could catch him that way. They said they can confirm that multiple reports and investigations have begun before even my report, so they are unable to share much information with me. Even thought a case involves me, but they told me it is imperative I apply for Claire's Law and have helped me with the application. It can take up to 10 days for my in-person meeting to provide my documents, and then it can take several weeks for the information to be shared with me. Knowing what I do already, I feel sick that they have told me how important it is for me to make this application. I can't believe in a few weeks he's going to discuss me even further when I receive his police records. My only silver lining is that once I have the police reports, on top of my medical reports, he doesn't stand a chance in family court, and me and my girl will be free to restart our lives together. Also, another little note. I've been looking for family court advice in a MAM support group, and I've been informed that luckily she's only 5 months old, and any name changes can be made before 6 months with only one parent's consent, and the witnesses don't need to be his choice, so I will be removing his surname and his grand's name from her middle name, for her to take my surname, and not have any more ties to his family. I just wanted to put an apology in here, as well as a lot of people have commented on my poor writing. I am a new ma'am who is lacking sleep even before any of this came to light. Everything I've wrote has basically been just a big vent from me. I know I'm no novelist, but I still apologize if it's been difficult to read. Some of Opie's comments. Commenter. You should also look into the offenses against the person Act 1861. If he knew he had an STI and spread it to you and others by telling you all not to use any kind of protection, that may be illegal. OP. My health visitor made the exact same point. She said would look into it for me and make the report on my behalf, as she has a legal obligation to report everything I said anyway. My worry is when speaking to the police today, they said without physical evidence they can't really do much, and even if multiple women come forward with the exact same claim, it's still hearsay and can't be pursued. I've checked all my past messages and can't find anything in writing from him that can be used. Commenter: I'd get a lawyer fast. I think there's a law against sharing private messages now, but I think you should be fine since the other women are consenting to their messages being used as evidence. That might be a loophole. Also, there's a Facebook group of women who post guys and their crime so people know not to date these individuals, and since it's a closed group, that they are careful who they lend there, he won't be able to get in because they're really good at sniffing out a nosy dude and kicking them. So you might want to add that in there so others don't fall for his tricks. Also, I have to thank you because I never realized how much someone saying ma'am instead of mom would annoy me now. I can mark it down on my list of things I overreact to. I'm glad I caught it in text format before I met someone in real life who did this and just was perpetually annoyed with them without knowing why I was annoyed. LOL. OP. Thank you for your concern and advice. I've shown my support worker what I've shared, and she said everything is above board. He's also already been named and shamed in a couple of groups by someone he was speaking to on a dating app after finding out about me. I've only shown my own information. I would never expose another woman, and no one has been named but me and my partner. In all honesty, the post was more to prove that we had been in a relationship and had a child more than anything, as he was getting his friends and family to harass me saying he didn't know me and gaslit me so much I started to doubt the past year and a half myself. I only said what he had done to me and just mentioned that I was aware now that he had affairs. I've gone in much more detail here about things with the safety of being anonymous. I shared photos of us together, text messages of our boring lives, love you more, we need nappies, etc., and my medical records showing the STI. In the UK, it's only illegal to show other people's messages without consent, and the only ones I have are saved to be used in court, with the women who have sent me them's consent, if it comes to it. As I am the one who had sent the messages I've shared, and there is no defamation, my social worker thinks I'll be okay. Also sorry. LOL. In my part of the UK, ma'am or mammy is most commonly used, and then mum or mummy. We never use mom. It's funny how different parts of the world speak the same language, but use completely different words. Commenter: OMG, op, you are queen. I'm so proud of your fierce determination to protect your baby, yourself, and other potential victims. All this, and you're a new mama. Lordy, you're a strong woman. Hope that guy's prick falls off. Bloody AH. OP. I don't know why this was the comment that finally opened floodgates for me, but thank you. I think they're happy tears. I've spent the last few months building up our run-down little council house. I managed to get us to make it into our dream home, all while caring for our little girl and giving more love and support to him and his family than I've ever gave myself. She falls asleep at 12/1 a.m. and I work through the night decorating and building furniture. I keep forgetting that I've just given birth. I haven't even recovered myself. He made me into a mouse of a person and so dependent on him that I haven't felt strong at all. I think now I can see through clear eyes and realize how many women I've managed to help so far and the work I'm putting into to protect the children as a school. I do feel more proud of myself and hope one day my baby girl will be proud of me too. This is all fake. And I 100% understand why someone would think and say that. I completely admit I used a clickbait title. I've never wrote a post before, only read others, so just copied what I've seen online for the title hook. I wish the rest was fabricated, but sadly, it's actually very condensed to focus on his lies about cancer. I haven't even touched on details of the argument around the attempted break in which lead to this, why or how I found the other women on Facebook, or the argument with his new girlfriend and ma'am, which lead to me discovering the extent she has been covering for him. I don't even dare go into further details for people not believing the absolute shit show of the past week. I didn't even believe it myself. Update 2 in comments. February 12th, 2025. 2 days later. 3 from OG post. I have managed to provide enough evidence of drug use and emotional blackmail to the police to have a domestic abuse case opened. This is going straight past the school to the highest authority to keep him away from children. This is huge news and gives me such a relief in knowing my child and others will be safe, but I still have that awful feeling of guilt for him. Just 2 weeks ago we called each other bride and groom. I think it's going to take a while to grieve the person I thought I knew while dealing with the one I know now. I hope this is the point he actually goes to rehab instead of lying about it and can find happiness and restart his life. I don't think I want to make any more updates now. I am unbelievably grateful for the kind words and advice, but I originally just wrote this to get my emotions out of my head to help me sleep better. I know I used a clickbaity title, but I did not expect my post to blow up like this. Thank you all for helping and making my emotions feel validated in an absolutely insane situation. Me and my little girl are going to be okay. Story 4. My coworker tickled another coworker, And now, there is chaos. My company has had a relatively informal, somewhat relaxed working environment in the past, where colleagues generally got along well, and we had a decent time together, even while working hard. Unfortunately, that balance has recently been upended in the department I work in. 2 weeks ago, my coworker Rachel kicked the power strip under the desk in her cubicle, so she slipped off her heels and crawled under to pop it back in. The young woman in the cubicle behind her, Monica, had a serious lapse in judgment at this point. She knelt down and slipped an arm around Rachel's ankles when she was vulnerable and began tickling her feet. It was an unusual moment, to say the least, and reactions ranged from amusement to mild horror. If you asked Monica, she would say she only had a light hold to avoid getting kicked during a playful moment that went too far. If you asked Rachel, she'd say she was rendered largely immobile and humiliated. I didn't have the best view, but it looked to me as though reality was closer to Rachel's side. Our manager, Phoebe, rushed in after several seconds of laughing/shouting to break it up. It was a good thing she was there, because I thought for sure that Rachel was going to slug Monica or otherwise. Phoebe walked Monica to HR, and we wondered if Monica was done for. Apparently, they allowed her to remain with the company, but told her she'd be dismissed if she put one toe out of line. I don't know the details, but I do know that Rachel was furious that the girl wasn't fired. Since that point, she has done everything she can to make Monica so unhappy that she feels compelled to quit, from passive-aggressive emails, to trying to rally coworkers to petition management to let her go, to bringing up the incident, as it's come to be called, at every available opportunity. As a result, Rachel is becoming difficult to work with, and Monica is becoming a basket case. It's gotten to the point where yesterday, I talked to Monica because I felt sorry for her. I'd heard her crying in the ladies' room that morning, only to have Rachel snarl at me later for trying to be friendly. I'm fairly certain that Phoebe knows what's happening, but is hesitant to address the issue with Rachel since she was the original victim. Phoebe is also rather hands-off in management style, so that isn't helping the situation. The environment is becoming increasingly uncomfortable, and our department being split on whether Monica should have been let go from the start hasn't helped, and I can sense people starting to take sides. Any advice would be appreciated. Update: 5 months later. First and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time to craft a thoughtful response to my letter. Monica, the tickler, left the company last week. I don't know all the details, but I reached out, and she said that she and management came to an understanding, but wouldn't say more, and I didn't push. She was a middle child in a large family that showed a lot of physical affection, and tickling wasn't something vicious or mean as far as she was concerned, and it was probably that background that contributed to her lack of judgment. I won't make excuses for her actions, but I really feel bad for her and hope she finds another position and that she can learn from her mistake instead of being punished for it further. She is clearly an extrovert, and feeling cut off from people and caught in an atmosphere of hostility and isolation really affected her, though how much pressure was from Rachel and how much, if any, came from higher-ups, I couldn't say. I offer to have coffee and catch up, and if she takes me up on that, I might have more info in the future. As for Rachel, once Monica was gone, some of my co-workers expected her to gloat or strut around, but she's been awfully subdued. She doesn't talk much about anything except work, even inconsequential things. Perhaps that will change, but it's as if she didn't know how to react once she got what she wanted. As far as I know, our manager never confronted her, though I won't swear to that. Things seem to be getting back to normal otherwise. Our boss brought some treats, and we did a couple of fun group exercises, and people have relaxed a bit. Still, I'm wary of how quickly things can get deeply uncomfortable. Thank you again for your time and your advice. Story 5. Got punched in the face by a customer. Happened a few hours ago. She busted my lip open in front of her 2 children because I asked to ID her and her friend for alcohol. One lady tried using her ID for both of them. I said that wasn't allowed and that I needed both IDs if either of them was going to drink. They got attitudes about it, and I started yelling at them once they stood up from a booth and began dangling one of the children, about 3, in the air by his arm like he was a doll. I couldn't watch that and not say anything. They continued to scream, telling me to mind my own business, and eventually ended up pushing me into the corner of my section. The lady walked into a table and literally pinned me in the corner with the table, before reaching over it and punching me in my face and busting my lip open. I'm still shaking. I've never been assaulted like that before. Right after the lady punched me, the other lady turns to my manager, who was trying to get in between us, and says in the calmest voice, she was very unprofessional. Like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking serious? The cops were called, and I talked to 2 of them. They said that they're going to look for the car, and if they can't find it, The case will be sent to a detective. I hope they find them. We don't have cameras in or outside the building, but we got videos of their faces as well as their handicap sign number. I hope it's enough. We didn't get the license. The picture is too blurry. Sorry. I feel like a mess. My face is swollen, and it hurts, and I've never had something like this happen. I'm not confrontational, but when I saw her holding the kid like that, I couldn't stop myself from yelling at her. I hope he's okay. Some of OP's comments. Commenter, how are you feeling? OP, I honestly don't know. I sat in the tub, shaking for a long time. I feel weird, and I don't know what to do. Commenter, take care of yourself. Possible things that might help after an assault. Talk to someone you trust about it. Do mindfulness exercises like meditation or yoga. Avoid alcohol or drugs. Try to maintain your routines like sleeping, eating, and exercising. When you are faced with traumatic feelings, don't ignore them or try to minimize them. Confront them by talking about it or writing your feelings and thoughts down. It could have happened to anyone, and you were right to defend the child. Hopefully, they will be able to catch the culprits and make sure they face punishment from their actions. OP, thank you very much. I'm going to try and do what I can to keep myself mentally and physically healthy while I figure everything out. I really hope they catch them, too. Fingers crossed. Commenter, I hope you get a few rest days. This would have me shaken up big time. OP, I actually had my 2 weeks in anyway, so I told my manager that I wasn't going to finish my last 4 days. I don't want to go back there ever again. Commenter, go to the hospital. Make them file it as a workers' comp claim. OP, I'm thinking about it, especially so they can have documentation of the injury. My entire upper lip is busted open, and it hurts like crazy. Commenter, the mother of 2 is very abusive. But what I'm very angry about is their kids had to see their mother beat up a server over an alcoholic drink and ID. That's the kind of behavior I do not tolerate whatsoever. Hope CPS got involved too. Those kids need to be removed from their parents' care. OP, that's when I snapped and started yelling back. She was throwing the one kid around, and it was appalling to watch. I hope that, if they find them, I can bring that up in court as well. Those kids deserve better. Commenter, WTF. How does your restaurant not have cameras? That's unacceptable. If they do find them, take them to civil court so you can fuck them over criminally and civilly. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's one thing to take verbal abuse from guests, but to be physically assaulted at work is deplorable. Good luck to you. OP, yeah, having no cameras has been an ongoing issue there, and hopefully with this, they'll get their shit together and get some around the restaurant. I've been yelled at before. Sure, we all have an industry, but getting punched? Holy shit. I really can't wrap my head around it. It almost doesn't even feel like it really happened, but then I feel my swollen lip, and I'm like, shit. Thank you. I appreciate it. Fingers crossed they find them, and they get what's coming to them. Commenter, you know who's very good at tracking cars? Social media. Reddit did it. So did TikTok. Also, if I were you, I'd go to all the other liquor stores or ones that sell alcohol in town and show them their faces, ask if they've been there. No, really. I'd take a day off and do that. OP, I did make a FB post, so I have people in the area keeping an eye out. We actually did drive around other restaurants in the area looking for their car afterwards. No luck, unfortunately, but your idea is a pretty good one. Commenter, release city and physical descriptions, folded hands, medium light skin tone. OP, oh, I didn't know I was allowed to do that. This happened in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. They were 2 black women, one around 25 and one who looked younger than that. They had 2 small children, 3 to 5 years old. The one lady was really skinny with long wavy hair, and the other was more heavy set with short hair. This is the picture somebody took of their car. Asterisk. Comment next day. Thank you. Honestly, I'm really scared with how I'm feeling right now. I have a lot of emotions, and it's like I can't pinpoint any of them. I see every day how horrible people can be, but having something like this actually happen to me personally, it's almost eye-opening. I don't know. My brain feels fried. Also, I'm sorry for the things you had to go through. I wish you the best with your healing. Update post. Almost 2 months later. Hello all. It's been a while since I made the original post. I went to court for this today. The 2 ladies being charged were found guilty of harassment and each charged a maximum fine of $300. They were not present at the time, which I thought meant they couldn't be charged and would be arrested for failure to show. But the judge passed the verdict anyway and said they have 30 days to pay or there would be a warrant out for their arrest. He also said if they wanted to fight it, we would be going to court again in the coming future. But because they weren't there, we didn't know if they were just going to pay the fine or not. Me and the witnesses, talked to the detective, and he said a few things. That they were claiming I was being racist towards them. I was following the law by requesting ID for alcohol. That they only hit me because they thought I was going to hit them. I was literally being backed into a corner. So what? That one of them had a long history of other charges. All in all, I was honestly a little disappointed with the outcome because it felt as if they got off easy. I mean, I was attacked at work and literally quit my job because I was scared to go back. I thought the simple assault would stick, but I guess the detective thought only going for harassment was better. Regardless, it was over with. As we were all leaving the courtroom, I saw them both standing at the front desk. They finally showed up 40 minutes late. We walked out of the office with the detective. He said he wanted to walk with us just in case they try to follow us, because apparently they were getting upset inside that they missed their court hearing. Too bad. Oh well. You knew what time you were supposed to be there. Me and the witnesses and the detective were just kind of baffled. But we said our goodbyes and I headed home. About an hour passed. I was sitting in my living room passing time, distracting myself, when I got a phone call. It was from the detective. After we left the office, they made a threat to me at the magistrate's office in front of the people that work there. They said, and I quote, they were going to go to my old job and fuck me up. They didn't know I had quit because of them. How dumb could you be? Did they really think they were going to get away with that? So, the detective told me that he was pressing another charge. Intimidation of a victim, which is a felony. Edit. He also mentioned terroristic threats. We're going back to court and I couldn't be more thrilled. It'll have to be a different court apparently, but regardless, they are getting even more charges now. I also think they got arrested at the office because the detective said something about them getting picked up, but I'm not sure. I was upset because it felt like they were getting off easy. Not anymore. I'm getting my justice. Thank everyone for the kind words and encouragement on the original post. I'll provide another update when I can, but it may take a while. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. Are you not filing a civil lawsuit against them? OP. I didn't know. I was told to just let the cop press the charges and go from there. I haven't ever been in a situation like this, so it was a lot of new information to take in. I am considering suing now, though, for damages/emotional distress. Especially after today. They clearly don't have any remorse for what they did. Commenter. Talk to a lawyer like yesterday. You were assaulted at your place of work. You suffered physical and psychological damages, had to quit your job, and lost your source of income. They were convicted for the initial charges and are facing a felony. You can and should be compensated. I would not be surprised if a lawyer went after the person or persons who assaulted and your former employer. OP. It's definitely going to be mentioned to a lawyer. I want to do a consultation to see where I can go from here. Because they were already charged with the harassment, I'm going to see what I can do. Thank you for the advice. Commenter. Please pursue this. You have the right to be compensated. If they get off easy, they might continue to harass and or threaten you or someone else. OP. They will definitely be getting the intimidation of a victim charge. They aren't getting out of that. And I'm going to talk to some people about suing. Commenter. They need to learn. Though I feel bad for their children, they not only lost in this situation, but also in the parental lottery. You are right. I made sure to mention to the judge that they were holding one of the kids in the air by his arm, but it didn't really go anywhere. I really hope they will be okay, but with parents like that, I don't know. Commenter. But it's also weird that they weren't charged with failure to appear. Also, if they assaulted you, why just the harassment? Is this small town? If I were you, I'd call the DA's office and press these questions. Did the court give you a no-contact order or a restraining order? Someone is being lazy, and unfortunately, we have to stick up for ourselves when the law won't. Get some pepper gel as well. OP. I was honestly kind of confused too. Everybody involved was certain they'd be charged with failure to appear. When I asked the detective about it, he said they only get a warrant for their arrest if they don't pay the fine. As for the harassment bit, apparently, getting hit is included in that charge. When I talked to the detective when it first happened, he said they'd be getting 3 charges. Harassment, simple assault, and criminal conspiracy. I don't understand why they only got the 1 charge. No restraining order, no contact order was filed. I don't want to bad-mouth the detective, but while we were in the little side waiting room, he kept saying this was the easiest route. I told him multiple times I didn't want the easiest route when the incident first happened. I wanted to hit them hard, and I would do whatever it took to do that because this whole thing was insane. Also, it's not a small town. I live in a major city. This is why I wasn't feeling much justice until I was told we're going back to court. Commenter. At least it was prosecuted. That's the sort of thing I could see LA police not responding, or responding but not looking for the suspects, or the prosecutor declining to prosecute. But I am surprised at how light the sentence was for a person with a history of other charges, assuming the charges resulted in convictions. I could see a fine and probation or suspended sentence for a first offense, but not a habitual offender. OP. One of the girls has a past history of theft charges and apparently some kind of domestic altercation with an ex-boyfriend. Because of those, I also thought she would get a harsher sentencing. When the judge did his verdict, he said he was charging them the maximum fine, which was only $300. I'm assuming that's because it was just a harassment charge and not the simple assault. When I looked it up, simple assault was a lot more,